After the infamous Google memo, many became interested in the diversity of Silicon Valley. Efforts have been made to diversify the workplace, but leadership remains mostly male and mostly white. I found it interesting that even though Asians are well represented, they are the least likely to be promoted to a leadership position. For Asian women, it's even worse. Only 3% of leaders in Silicon Valley are Asian women. The main question is why. If you ask Susan Wu, an Ivy League educated Asian American woman who has advised a who's who of tech companies, including Medium, Twitter, and Square, she says, as an Asian American woman, I'm either a caricature object of sexual interest, a nerdy engineer, a newly arrived immigrant, a tiger mom, or an aggressive dragon lady. First, let's talk about careers. There is something called the model minority myth. Because of the general success of Asians and because they are well represented in industry, people tend to believe that there isn't any discrimination against Asian Americans at all. A great example of the model minority myth is the reaction when Barack Obama was elected President of the United States. We elected a black president, so racism no longer exists in America. Next, there is something called the bamboo ceiling. This roadblock relates to two specific stereotypes that Asian Americans are more capable but lacking in social skills. To learn more about what it's like in the workforce for an Asian American woman, I sat down with Mia Parrish, the president and publisher of Republic Media, the largest local news organization in Gannett, which is the largest news publisher in the country. How would you say that being a woman has affected your career, and has this evolved throughout different positions you've held?
Well, I always say that being a woman is something I didn't pick, right? You know, that's the one thing I can't do. I can't change the weather. I can't change that I was born a girl, or, and so you do the best you can with what you've got. But I think it's both helped and hurt me. It's both provided challenges and opportunities. And I think right now is a pretty interesting time to be a woman in media.
How has being an Asian American woman affected your career, and has that evolved at all?
Well, there aren't very many of us, so I think, and I'm one of the oldest of us, because there aren't that many Asians in the population. But I think even today, there's only 3 Asian American publishers in the United States in mainstream media. So it affects what you do because you stand out, I guess. It makes you unusual, and people aren't always sure what to do with you.
So why are Asian women discriminated against at an even higher rate? For one, women's rights movements and Asian American rights movements see the Asian women's leadership gap as a low priority. Sheryl Sandberg's best-selling book, Lean In, was geared for mostly upper-class white women, and Asian activist groups are more focused on stopping human trafficking. Minority women could be helped by the concept of intersectionality, the study of looking at the many different identities someone embodies that contribute to discrimination. But the main issue is that Asian women have been stereotypically sexualized for decades. During the 19th century, employers preferred single Asian men to bring to the United States, and if they did have families, it was economically smart to leave them in their home country. Then, because of the gender imbalance between Asian men and women in the United States, importation of Asian women as prostitutes became common. White men began to see Asian women as exotic and mysterious. That's when the sexual stereotype of Asian women emerged. The stereotype is a split personality: the lotus blossom, the submissive, domesticated, and feminine side, and the dragon lady, the devious, wicked, and domineering side. Mia shared an example from early in her career when she was blindsided by a stereotype she didn't even realize existed.
So I was in my early 20s. I was probably 24, 25, so early in my career, and I was mindful even in that time. I don't know how much, and you're really familiar with newsrooms because your mom's been in a newsroom and your dad's been in a newsroom. There weren't a lot of younger women in newsrooms then. In a big city. I was in Chicago, and there were just flat out not that many Asians anyway. So I didn't really understand the stereotype situation. I didn't know then. I mean, obviously it's much more clear now. But I got this column, and it was a big exciting thing that I got to write this column, and it was a travel column. So it was not a serious thing. It wasn't earth-shattering or life-altering in any way, And this picture was a little teeny tiny picture, but it was going to be my first picture that was going to be in the paper. So the photo editors, and I had been a photo editor, and so the photo editors were friends of mine, and everybody was all just sort of excited to help me pick the right photo, and so a lot of people have been involved in this conversation. And I wanted to be I actually thought about being modest, being serious and modest and being a serious woman journalist, even though it wasn't a serious topic particularly. And so I was wearing a dress that actually looked a lot like this, pretty high collar, and it was black, and it had longer sleeves, and this picture was about this big. So my mom lived with me at the time, so I took home these proof sheets. I don't know if you've even ever seen a proof sheet, but lots of these little pictures so you could see what they look like. So a lot of people had seen this picture, and a lot of people had gone into picking this picture, I guess is my point. And runs in the paper, and all these people tell me how pretty it looks and how nice it looks, and they're excited for me. When I got called into the office, and this is the boss's boss's boss. It's a big boss in a big office who doesn't normally talk to someone like me, doesn't normally talk to someone who I work for, very high up, and just says, you're calling me to a new picture. And the picture had been a big thing to me, but it shouldn't really have been a big thing to him, honestly. And I said, I don't understand. Everybody said it was perfect. We'd actually had a lot of conversations about this little teeny tiny picture that we picked. And then he said, for God's sakes, woman, you look like a dominatrix, and all the men are talking about it. And I was so mortified because it didn't even occur to me that was the issue. I wasn't worried about being sexualized. I wasn't worried about being an object. I wasn't worried about that sort of thing. My hair was very, a little bob, and it was all very modest, and I thought. But the stereotype was that was the first thing they thought of. And I think most of all it was mortifying to me that I'm having these conversations that I think are about making sure I look professional, and they're having these conversations behind my back about how I look like a sex object.
How did that affect you moving forward?
I think everything that happens in your life affects you, right? Everything that, and at the time, I had to go back and get a new picture. And I didn't want to say, this is why, I just said, Nigel thinks I need a different picture. And the photo editors were all confused because they'd all picked this picture too. And some of them were men, so I don't know. So I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable either. But I never told anyone why. I didn't tell the woman who worked for him, who is still a friend of mine, who had hired me. I didn't complain about it. I didn't do anything about it. I just changed it. But it makes you mindful and makes you realize, and I think there have been points in my career where I'm just going about my business, being myself, and someone will say something and you realize, oh, that's what they were really thinking. Oh, I get it. And so you adjust, what you're wearing, how you're dressing, how you're acting, how you're, and again, it's a choice, right? And those are choices you make for yourself. Not everybody would do what I have done and make the choices that I made. But not everybody looks the way that I look. And not everybody's in the environment that I'm in, so.
Part of the reason Mia has been able to overcome these obstacles is because of the way she presents and carries herself. She usually wears dresses, which is a symbol of femininity, but the shape and colors of the dresses are professional. She always wears closed-toed shoes because it is seen as more serious. Everything she wears is calculated for the occasion.
When I was a boss at a very young age, which is also challenging because people will judge you. They'll think you got your job because you're a pretty girl. They'll judge what you're wearing because they'll think you're trying to get something. So I dressed more modestly, certainly, and more carefully, and with jackets. And I never drank at work. And I made choices, very specific choices, to make sure that the work that I was doing wasn't distracted by the clothes that I was wearing. But as I've gotten older, you know what? I'm a girl. I'm a woman. I'm a beautiful woman. And that's okay too. Like, there's an advantage in that, just like there's a disadvantage in that. I like beautiful clothes. I like to look pretty. And I'm never going to look like those guys. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can wear that's not going to have that be part of who I am, right? So I think the older that I've gotten, the more that I've embraced that as something that's a benefit to me. And people will talk about you one way or the other. So I'm much more comfortable now with people saying, wow, those are really beautiful shoes. I'm like, thank you, yes they are. Right? I'm gonna wear the things that make me happy, make me confident, make me feel good, are still appropriate for the role that I'm in. But certainly, the more comfortable I've gotten, the higher that I've risen in my career. I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm wearing, I know what it says, and I'm okay with that. Okay. And sometimes it helps me. It's okay.
Mia wants people to know that she's approachable and kind, but also strong and powerful. She embraces the contradiction of femininity and power and is an inspiration for all women because of it.
The Athena Award made me think about Athena and how she so aptly represents one of the most powerful things about women. She was the goddess of war and of wisdom. It's a contradiction that to me is meaningful and powerful and feminine. As women, we draw power in the strength and simultaneous contradiction of that small and simple word, and. We bring home the bacon and we fry it up in the pan. We run companies and we care for our families. We suffer crushing miscarriages and get out of bed and tend to our jobs and our families. We deal with the pain of depression or arthritis or of cancer and put a smile on our faces to reach out a hand to others. We quietly fix problems and we say thank you to others who do too as well. We earn advanced degrees after our children are sleeping, and we work to pay those bills. We run board meetings and carpools. We are ambitious and philanthropic. We are smart and beautiful. We are tough and kind. We are sassy and sweet. We are fierce and gentle. We are deliberate and spontaneous. We are leaders and collaborators. We are told so many times in the course of our days, of our weeks, of our lives, that we can't be all these things at once. That if you're pretty, you won't be taken seriously. That if you have tough things to do, that you can't do them with kindness. That if you want to move up, you can't help those who are next to you. I'm here to say that that is not true. And that's my secret for all of you. That's our power, that's our magic, that's our strength, my sweet, sassy, silly, spontaneous, spectacular sisters. You are the and. You are the everything. You are magnificent. You get to be all of these things. The messy contradictions, the challenging solutions, the powerful beauty that is being a woman. And I love you for it. And you should love and care for each other for it. Be kind to each other. Be mindful of each other. Be graceful and honest and thoughtful of each other. Be powerful and vulnerable. Be like Athena. Be the warrior be a goddess of war and of wisdom. I thank you for all you do. I thank you for all you will do for this community and for those that you love and for each other. And I thank you for this honor.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will be brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday, yeah, we'll put it together and we'll get it out.